Hey everybody!
How's it
Welcome
going?
to Consider This Movie Show Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
That's not the title of this episode. It's actually the Star Wars Holiday Special. If you haven't noticed, we have our holiday shirts on. They're very
Live
ugly.
from Tatooine, it is a planet in the galaxy. Ba-dum.
So it's the Star Wars Holiday Special. We are doing this episode on the official opening day of Rogue One, which we saw.
December
so if you guys
16th.
stay tuned, we're going to be doing a Rogue One live review soon in the show, about halfway through, maybe a little earlier. We're also going to be giving away, I have it right here, a copy of
Ba-dum.
Star Wars The Force Awakens. So if you stay tuned, you could win it. And we'd just like to point out that we have a live audience today, so if you hear any burps or farts or giggles coming from the studio,
Claps are appreciated.
that's most likely not us. It's the
Yeah, but now we have an excuse
full
to
audience
do it.
behind us over there. There's several of them.
Wait, I could just go like this and you don't know I'm burping?
Yeah. You
Feel
know why
really
you'd be
naked
burping?
today.
You know why you would be burping? Because you just saw Rogue One, and you're full of excitement, you're full of gas, bubbles,
Yeah.
tears, or are you? We'll find out.
I just gotta let it all out.
Before we do all that,
I feel so naked
we wanna it is naked
There's no
today. We
mics.
wanna welcome you guys to episode 7. We wanna point out that there are no mics today. Our audio board and mics and all that, we're re-tinkering with it so the sound's better. The sound on this episode might be okay, but
Might be better.
It could be better. I don't know. These camera mics are something new we're trying, but yeah, that explains the no microphones. And yeah, should we get started?
Let's do this thing.
So to kick it right off, we're gonna give a more of a somber note. Alan Thicke, who was on the show Growing Pains for a while, he birthed Robin Thicke of musical fame from, I don't remember the name of the song, but he was on Growing Pains. I watched him growing up, and you know, he's a TV legend, I guess you could say, 80s sitcom legend. He passed away this week. Rest in peace, Alan Thicke. And yeah, Growing Pains is a good schlocky 80s sitcom, so if you haven't seen it, check it out. Did you watch that one growing up?
I did not.
It was on before or after Full House on ABC Family, I remember.
He was a beloved guest star on How I Met Your Mother several times.
Yeah, he was in a lot more than Growing Pains, but that's what I primarily remember him from. So we just want to give condolences to the Thicke family. And
2016 lost another great one,
Yeah,
as
this year's rough.
a lot of
This is
people
a
on
rough
Facebook
year.
say.
I was reading something funny that could make a good short story. Someone was saying, what if it's 2016, the New Year's Eve party at New York City, and the ball's dropping, and it like malfunctions and breaks down halfway down the way, and 2016 just never ends. That ball never fully drops, and we're stuck in 2016. Could be a
I
good
thought
short story.
2016 was a pretty cool year for me personally. A lot of people didn't like it.
Well, currently we have news that Russia was involved in picking our president, and there's been many celebrity deaths. So 2016,
There's celebrity deaths every year.
please, there are every year, but
That's the thing.
2016 feels...
People just get really
Forever.
upset when the celebrity dies, and then there's a couple in a row, and they think that it's never happened before, but it happens every year.
But here's to a gripping 2016 season finale. Let's see what it's got in store. We got about a week and a half left, so...
We're not still talking about celebrity deaths. We don't want any more of those.
We'll
Not
see
a
what
gripping
happens.
finale for that.
Our next piece of movie news, comes from 2 monster movies. Godzilla, which is getting a sequel, and Pacific Rim, which is getting a sequel starring John Boyega.
I was hoping we had more news about monster trucks.
Monster trucks we'll be talking about soon, I hope. Actually, I think we should see it and talk about it on the show. But Godzilla's new title for the second one is King of Monsters, and Pacific Rim is going to be called Pacific Rim Uprising. So one of those names is pretty cool, one of those names is very generic and boring. Can you
So
figure out-
Godzilla needs to have a crown, because he's the king of
He's
monsters.
the King of Monsters, hopefully.
And Pacific Rim, there needs to be a flying monster, because uprising.
Yeah, I think the Uprising probably references the like hole or whatever they come from deep in the earth. And the King of Monsters, I'm assuming he's going to be fighting King Kong, which is why King is in the title.
Ooh.
And they duke it out. I know that's going to be a movie.
Oh,
but
that's
I don't
coming
know.
from Kong Skull Island, possibly?
That's the Kong they're talking about. I don't know if that's going to be this movie or another sequel down the road, but I know that's planned. So King of Monsters. So look out for that. Are you excited for? Did you like Godzilla or Pacific Rim?
Godzilla was fine. Pacific Rim was pretty good. They're both... Godzilla didn't have enough action for me. It was more of a build-up
Yeah.
to a little bit. And Pacific Rim was more of a build-up to some cool stuff.
Yeah, I think
So-
Godzilla must have been good enough though for Gareth Edwards got
It made money.
got his part in Rogue One. He probably got the chance to direct Rogue One
That's
from
the
Godzilla.
director of Godzilla and Rogue One, Gareth Edwards.
I agree. Godzilla, I think, was better than Pacific Rim. Were those the same?
No, I think Pacific Rim was better than
Oh,
Godzilla.
that's what he said. Well, I think the opposite. I think Godzilla was a better made film. Pacific Rim was more fun. I had a lot more fun watching that one. But Godzilla is one I could rewatch again and enjoy. But neither one was.
I thought Godzilla was kind of
mind-blowing
boring
to
and
me.
Pacific
Yeah.
Rim was cool. But yeah, none of them was mind-blowing. They were
Looking
both
forward to the
action
sequels.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pacific Rim will be fun.
Of the two, which are you more excited for? Assuming Godzilla is a King Kong.
Oh, assuming Godzilla is a King Kong movie, I'd say it's equal, but I'm right now more excited for Pacific Rim.
I'm the opposite again. But those are two movies we have to look forward to.
Let's see who's more right in
Right?
our optimism. Maybe we're both right. Maybe we think
Maybe
the same
they're
thing about
both straight.
sequels.
Oh yeah. So the next piece of movie, not really news, but award season's upon us. And the first major film award season show just announced their nominations. We're talking about the Golden Globes. There's a lot more. There's the Critics' Choice and the SAG and the Directors Guild.
But the Golden Globes is the best one.
The Golden Globes is like the second most popular, I'd say, behind the Oscars. Even though a lot of people consider it like the drunken Oscars, and it doesn't mean as much. It's more of just a Hollywood
Yeah.
razzmatazz.
Because
but anyway,
it's kind of a combination of everything, movie and TV.
yeah, and their categories are
documentaries.
different. I mean, it's interesting to watch.
Yeah.
It gives you a bit of insight into what the Oscars voters might be
I
thinking.
feel like they give out, somehow, even though they have more broad categories, they give out more awards to people. Like, it's easier to get a Golden Globe than an Oscar, I feel like.
Probably. I mean, the Golden Globes are voted, I think, by like a much smaller group of people, and you could lobby to them. And it's like a different process.
Okay.
But the nominations did come out, and I think they're worth talking about.
Yeah.
One I want to point out, I'll read the list and then point out the one that's pretty obvious. The Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy category was filled with 20th Century Woman, which I haven't seen yet. La La Land, which I did see yesterday, and I'm going to talk about it briefly in a moment. Florence Foster Jenkins, which is Meryl Streep, pretty obvious. Sing Street, which is a great
Sing Street was cool.
Irish movie. Yeah, you talked about it a couple weeks ago on the show. Great Irish musical that came out a few weeks ago. And then kind of a pick from left
A
field.
little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, Deadpool.
Deadpool
made a Best Motion Picture category, which is interesting.
It's a comedy. I don't expect it to get nominated at the Oscars.
But yeah.
But it is an action movie, but it's very funny. So
I think it's
kind of
heavier on the comedy.
multifaceted.
It's a comedic superhero movie, which is cool. And Ryan Gosling, don't quote me on this one, but
Ryan
he just
Gosling?
won, or Ryan Reynolds. He just won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Actor in a Comedy, I believe.
Wow.
So I mean, it's gaining traction, this Deadpool thing. So
I
that's
really
interesting.
liked Deadpool. Out of those, I've only seen two of them. I would give the slight edge to Sing Street, but I don't think it's a big contest. You know, I think it's very close.
I'm gonna disagree with you, but because you haven't seen La La Land, so that gives you a little bit more insight. I saw it last night. I highly recommend it. It's not in completely wide release, so it's kind of harder to find still. But if you can, please go
It's
check it
only in
out.
200 theaters in the whole country, so.
I haven't seen 20th Century Woman, but after seeing La La Land, I think it's a no contest. I think La La Land is gonna completely
Really?
crush this
It
category.
was that much better than Sing Street, which I know
Yeah.
you really enjoyed?
Sing Street I really enjoyed, and that's saying something. So La La Land I think will knock that category out of the park.
Okay.
But Deadpool could have a shot. If Deadpool wins, that's great for the movie. I mean, the movie made gangbusters at the box office, and I liked it. I didn't think it was great, but I liked it. You?
Yeah.
Excited for Deadpool 2?
I am excited for Deadpool 2.
We're getting sporadic
I
news
really liked
in and out.
Deadpool.
We've talked about Deadpool a few times on the show, and the sequel, so we'll see how that one turns out. Hopefully good.
And now for the real category,
The more serious
Best Motion
category.
Picture Drama, which the winner of this sometimes wins the Oscar for Best Picture, not always, but
But it
generally
usually ends up in the nominations.
Yes, definitely in the nominations. So we have Hacksaw Ridge, which I do want to see, have not seen it yet. Has very good reviews, Mel Gibson and Andrew Garfield. Hell or High Water with Jeff Bridges and Chris Pine. It was excellent. It's a Western. I
haven't seen
That would be
mine.
my second pick right now. My pick would be Moonlight, which is also nominated. I think it was excellent, very well made movie, very like Oscar style dramatic movie, and I highly recommend it.
And the other two in the category are two we haven't seen. Manchester by the Sea, which Casey Affleck's getting a ton of buzz for.
Another movie I would very much like
I'd like
to
to see that
soon.
one. I'd like to see all of them. And Lion, which I don't know much about, but Dev Patel's in it, and he's Oscar feel lately.
Yeah.
Slumdog Millionaire, I think he was in Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. Was he in Life of Pi, or am I thinking of
I think he was in Life. No, I don't think he was
Maybe,
in
I
Life
don't know.
Guy.
But he's been in some good ones. We'll see how this one turns out. And of these, I've only seen Hell or High Water, so I can't comment. I'm surprised that Arrival isn't in this list, or Nocturnal Animals, or some other movies. Even 10 Cloverfield Lane, I thought, was a pretty cool drama that could have made this category. But
Yeah, I think it's more. I originally thought it was more about movies that have come out recently, but Hell or High Water was August?
yeah, it's pretty much movies
So-
from the year. What about everyone in the audience? You guys have a favorite movie from this year? Anybody?
No?
Deadpool. We have some Deadpool fans?
Yeah, there's Deadpool fans. X-Men Apocalypse. Oh, thanks, Doug.
X-Men Apocalypse. Interesting.
That was really
interesting.
good.
Batman vs Superman. Okay, I think they're trolling us. But
yeah,
those are the best motion
ignore that
pictures.
one.
The interesting ones are the fun ones are always the actors. We're not going to go into all of them because there's a ton. But do you have a favorite performance so far this year? One that really stood out to you? I know I just mentioned 10 Cloverfield Lane and John Goodman.
John Goodman,
I want to name drop.
probably
did
number one.
amazing in that one. He's
For
also
just a
lost
straight
some
up
weight, but
best actor or any
just a
performance.
actor or actress.
I really liked both Chris Pine and Jeff Bridges in Hell or High Water.
Jeff Bridges never disappoints. Chris Pine was pretty good in that. Surprisingly good, I'd say. I wasn't expecting
Yeah.
him to pull off a tough, kind of grizzled Western guy. He looks too good. He's too pretty of a man.
He's too much of a pretty
He's got
boy. Kind of
deep-
like Chris Evans.
Deep blue pool eyes. I can't look away.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in this movie, and as soon as I see him with a mask over his head, and you just see those eyes, and I'm like, oh, hey, Chris Pine's in this movie.
You can immediately tell.
Yeah,
It's
just
crazy.
from his eyes.
He's got good eyes. That one was one I didn't know much about, and I enjoyed. For me, I just saw this one last week. Nocturnal Animals. Jake Gyllenhaal gave like an insanely emotional and grueling performance.
Yeah, he was
That's
really good.
Probably my favorite of the year, and he's,
I always expect him to be amazing.
he never like disappoints either. What's one of your favorite movies? Source Code. He was in that, right?
Source Code.
He was great in
love it.
that. For me, my favorite performance of his overall, if we're talking about it, he was good in Southpaw, but I think in Prisoners, yeah, he plays like a detective in that one, a cop, if you will.
I really liked him in Nightcrawler.
He was amazing in Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler, he went for the full physical transformation, but Prisoners, he plays a pretty multi-layered character, complex guy with like inner demons, but like a good character that you can really get behind. So hopefully the Oscars, they typically tend to ignore him. Hopefully they give him some notice this year.
I don't think this movie has gotten a whole lot of attention. It was a good movie, but reviews just mediocre. So I don't
Yeah, the reviews
know
are
how
astounding,
much buzz
but
it's gonna really get for the Oscars.
that's a cool thing. I
It
mean,
was
you
a
could
good
have
movie.
a mediocre movie with a great performance, or a great movie
Yeah.
that's like a bunch of mediocre performances. It's always interesting to look at. Are there any in the comedy or drama list that you think got snubbed, that you're surprised weren't in there, you wish were in there?
It wasn't a good year for comedies in general, so I think the funniest comedy was probably Neighbors 2.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that was fine.
interestingly enough, I forget who runs the Hollywood Foreign Press or something. Their definition for comedy is pretty light. I mean, last year The Martian
Yeah, The Martian won Best
So
Comedy.
if you're just thinking of lighter films, even I don't know if you have
And
anything.
Matt
else.
Damon won Best Comedic Actor. So
Yeah, interesting, right? For me, drama, I would say definitely Arrival. I'm shocked wasn't in there because that's like just one of the most well-made films. But granted, I haven't seen.
I think sci-fi are
4/5 of
tough
this.
to get in drama.
Yeah,
And like it was a very good movie. Like it was excellent.
Moonlight's not sci-fi. They don't go to the moon.
Yeah, but it's also there's a lot of black people in it, and just Hollywood Foreign Press loves that nowadays.
Backlash from Oscar so white or something. You think?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like
No,
people just
I-
complain that all the voters are white. So
I've been hearing amazing things about Moonlight. The director, I saw some clips from it, and the director, I saw him do an interview. He seems like just a smart guy who knows what he's doing. Directors this year, younger directors I always like seeing. He seems like one that's going to be up and coming. Damien Chazelle, who did La La Land. I'm really looking forward to what he does next.
yeah, he did an amazing job with Whiplash.
I think these guys are going to be the ones we talk about in 10 years, 15 years, the way we talk about.
Damien
Like,
Chazelle.
like
That's a name you're gonna
Tarantino,
start
like-
getting used to,
he also co-wrote 10 Cloverfield Lane.
which was
Amazing.
excellent.
He's awesome. But yeah, so that's for drama. One I was a little bit upset that wasn't in there. Comedy-wise, or what they consider comedy, there's not much. Hopefully, not hopefully, that's too late. But I was hoping they would have The Nice Guys in that one.
Oh
Did you see
yeah.
that? That was a pretty.
I
I mean,
haven't
that
seen
one's
that.
pretty comedy action. That was a really well-made film, also starring Ryan Gosling. But that didn't make the cut. So, anything from you?
Go back to the drama list. Hacksaw Ridge is in there. What should 10 Cloverfield Lane and Arrival? I guess you already said. So
I think one you liked earlier this year. God, I'm drawing a blank now. Ouija? Did you like that one enough to make a
Not an
make
Oscar.
an appearance? Not an Oscar movie.
Horror movies got to be pretty amazing to get an Oscar nom. So
Yeah,
it was good. But
The Witch was good
The
enough.
Witch
to get
was
an
really
Oscar nom.
good. If they had an Oscar for best horror, there's enough horror movies where definitely, I'm sure Don't Breathe would get nominated because people loved it, even though I haven't heard great things from you.
I don't see it being an Oscar or an award-worthy movie, but it was good. Maybe that could be a
Ouija,
people's
maybe.
choice.
Yeah.
People's choice is a little more general, popular.
And The Witch was
blockbuster
awesome.
stuff.
And Conjuring
Yeah.
2 was pretty good.
So the one last category, if that's all you can think of, that I want to talk about for this is another big film category, because these are films. It's the animated category. Kubo and the Two Strings, Moana, My Life as a Zucchini, Sing, and Zootopia. Now, if you notice one major film that came out this year that's missing from this list, Finding Dory.
Finding Dory,
Pixar.
Secret Life of Pets.
Didn't make the cut. Secret Life of Pets, I haven't heard amazing things about, so that one I'm not actually.
I thought it was a little better than Finding Dory.
From the same studio, though, you have Sing, which I guess was just the more recent one, so sometimes
Yeah.
that ends up taking over. But Disney still has Zootopia and Moana, so two out of three ain't bad. Do you have a favorite from this list of 5, and why is it My Life as a Zucchini?
Why is it My Life as a Zucchini? I don't know what My Life as a Zucchini is. I will definitely check it out. I have to watch it before Oscar season.
Yeah.
But I've seen Kubo, I've seen Moana, and Zootopia. And Zootopia is definitely my favorite animated movie of the year. I'd say those are my top 3. But Kubo is only slight advantage to Secret Life of Pets and Finding Dory. So I would say right now I'd go Zootopia, definitely my favorite to win, then Moana, and then Kubo. Kubo was very interesting and unique, but it just didn't hit
I think
quite as hard as it could
Yeah, I
have.
think on a technical level, Kubo should get it, because I mean, it's a fully claymation movie, which takes hours and hours. I mean, as the
And it
we
was
have a
gorgeous, the sound was great,
Yeah, it was like
unique premise.
technically astounding movie. Story was kind of weak, not very weak. I mean, I think
Yeah,
Kubo is probably really the best movie of these, but I'm gonna pick Zootopia. I think that's the biggest, most popular on the list.
Zootopia was again gorgeous. It was funny, the acting was great, it was just really charming and lovable and had a great story.
I can see Moana though clinching possibly a best original song. I think this is the toughest
Yeah, I
year.
think Moana could do best original song.
This could be the first year, at least in my memory, because in the Oscars they perform each original song. I think this year, if I have the original song nominations correct in my mind, what I think they'll be, this might be the first year where every original song performance doesn't suck. There's some years where there's songs I've never heard of,
Yeah.
and I don't even know what's happening.
And a lot of times it'll be like foreign songs.
Yeah,
or-
this year we have Sing Street, La La Land, Moana, Trolls, Can't Stop the
Sing
Feeling.
Street didn't get nominated for best song.
Not here, but I think it might in the Oscars. Even Sing did with Singing Faith, which I did hear, which is not a bad song. I haven't seen Sing yet, but yeah, it's interesting. This whole thing is cool to like just
So
look
you're
at.
excited to hear Gold from Gold?
I'm excited to hear Gold from Gold. I think that's the one with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh.
So I think it'll be
Okay.
cool. Yeah, but it's always cool to check out these awards. I think it's still a little early for them to pick all the movies, because the way I understand it, Golden Globes doesn't pick movies they haven't seen yet. So maybe Silence didn't make the cut.
That's
and
true.
Stuff like that because they haven't seen.
Yeah,
it.
occasionally there's movies that don't get any noms for the Golden
'Cause I
Globes.
know
that
Silence
win a
is
Best
one you'd
Picture
expect.
at the Oscars.
Live by Night, Ben Affleck's movie, you'd expect to be on there.
Maybe.
Things like that, but we don't know. So that's.
Yeah, I would expect Silence to be on there because it has incredible reviews right now.
So that's it for all this boring movie talk. Or
Ew.
news talk. Can we get into Star Wars yet? Not just yet. We're going to be talking about a few trailers. A couple trailers came out this week. We talked about trailers a lot last week, and there's just a ton of them. There's not as many this week. There's only 3 to talk about. And we're just going to jump right into it. First up, we have Christopher Nolan's newest film, Dunkirk. It's a war movie set in
The
World War II.
Battle of Dunkirk.
Battle of Dunkirk, which is a pretty famous battle, but not
Looks
one
like Normandy.
we've seen film. Yeah, it's kind of Normandy-esque, I guess. I don't know the specifics, but Christopher Nolan, he's coming back to play with Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, or Killian Murphy, however you pronounce that one. The guy from One Direction's in that one, which I think that our audience is a huge fan of, One Direction, and
Baby,
yeah, it looks cool. You don't see much.
Dunkirk like nobody
they might
else.
have a musical tie-in, honestly. I would be shocked. The trailer was cool. The effects look
Oh my
fine.
god, they need a musical war movie.
Get on it. It could be the next Hamlet. A World War II Hamilton.
All the soldiers just break out into song.
Hamilton,
like
World
while
War
they're
II.
shooting. Shoot your gun at the other guy.
If you can get in touch with Lin-Manuel on his busy schedule, just eke your way in there. But that, did you
I
see
don't
the
have the money to
Dunkirk
pay.
trailer?
I did see the
Did
Dunkirk
you see it in
trailer.
a theater? I've heard seeing it
I
in
did
a
not
theater
see
or
it in a
IMAX or
theater.
whatever.
I did not care
Allow
about
it.
the Dunkirk
No?
trailer. No.
Do you not care from the footage you saw, or just overall you don't care about this
No,
movie?
from the footage I saw. I like Christopher Nolan. War movies can be good. Again, it looked like just a big battle, so I need a little more.
Yeah, there's not
No.
a lot of context, but you trust, it's Christopher Nolan, so you trust him enough.
Yeah,
at this
it's
point.
one of the cases where
Or
I
at
do
least I
want
do.
another trailer, or at least some more about a story, before I get really interested in it.
Mhm.
I have hope for it because Christopher Nolan, who made
Well-
the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar.
I will make one suggestion for you. Don't read the Wikipedia page for the Dunkirk battle. There might be spoilers.
Oh, good call.
So on to our next trailer. It is The Fate of the Furious. And I'm going to start off by saying, what the heck is this movie? This looks like the most crazy, cartoony, comical... I've never seen a Fast and Furious movie. So let me preface it
Well,
by saying
first
that.
of all, the title, if you're saying what is this movie, the title is F8.
They don't
F8,
actually say
fate,
that
Fate.
in...
So if you say F8 really fast, it's Fate, and that's why they named it Fate of the Furious. Done.
It's incredibly clever if you're a 7th grader. But have you've seen previous...
I saw Furious 7. It was really cool.
Are they this
There was a lot of
ridiculous?
action. I've seen Furious 7 and I know what I'm getting into. I loved the trailer for Fate of the
Yeah?
Furious. I thought it looks ridiculous, but they just need to make these movies more ridiculous to get people excited and to make the $500 million from China. So what you do is you just make the stunts bigger and bigger. There's like a submarine?
There's a
and
submarine moving at
more
about 90
tanks
to
and-
100 miles an hour. They probably retrofitted it with a lot of NOS, I'm assuming.
It's always NOS.
It's always NOS. It's
Nitrous NOS.
It's two small submarines full of NOS attached to the bigger submarine that they submerged under ice, and they left it there until the Furious Gang showed up, just for that cool stunt. The Rock got bigger too. If
Yeah.
you're talking bigger, The Rock's a lot bigger in this one. He threatens to be.
Yeah, The Rock is
Jason's-
actually in this one this time, and not just like a very.
Is it a cameo in the last one?
Yeah, in the last one, it's like, oh hey, he does this big action scene in the beginning. Oh, I got hurt. I can't do this anymore. I gotta go make San Andreas. Look, I'm back. Let's get a Gatling gun right out of the hospital and shoot down a helicopter.
He's in everything, isn't he?
Yeah,
He-
but he was like,
I mean, it looks
he's great.
fun. He had
And
a line
Vin
where he
Diesel-
threatens to beat Jason Statham like a Cherokee drum. So, I mean, that's enough
then they
to
gotta
tell you
team
what kind
up.
of movie you're into. And from what I understand, Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel, is going rogue in this one, essentially.
he's got to care about his family. So now he's got to fight his family.
This is the year of, I was reading online, this is the year of famous movie character betrayals. Optimus Prime starts taking down Bumblebee. Dominic Toretto starts abandoning his whole family.
Xander Cage calls himself Triple X again.
Ah, yeah, he's back in Triple X. I don't know. These movies are ridiculous. I mean, they have an audience, clearly. The last one made $1.5 billion. But I don't think I'm that audience. This didn't excite me enough.
I am very excited for this movie.
I'll
It
see
looks
it on
awesome.
TV, but I don't know. But that being
But
said,
the thing is, you don't want to see it on TV. You want to see it in a theater, so you get the explosions and
yeah,
the heart
I was
pounding.
gonna say I'm the guy who's gonna
visuals.
pay for every Transformers movie, so I understand. I understand the hype, but I just
Transformers looks cool too.
this wasn't for me. I'm not big on the whole cars jumping and doing backflips in the
There's not just cars; they're good at everything.
Yeah, they're like super secret spies now. Wasn't
Yeah.
the first movie like
They were street racing in like alleys.
Point Break? Weren't they like a cop or something in alleys or something? I don't know. But anyway, moving on to another sequel. Are these all? Dunkirk's been original. Another sequel is
Turns out it's an Inception sequel.
right.
The whole movie's in a dream.
Despicable Me 3, Inception. No, Despicable Me 3 had a new trailer this week, and they're, I like their original trailers. I think for most Despicable Me movies, it's just like an extended clip of the movie.
Yeah.
So this one features Trey Parker or Matt Stone?
Trey Parker.
Trey Parker
who
plays...
is in South Park. He's
one of the
two
creators
people
of
who
South
voices
Park.
it.
Yeah, so he's like pretty well known. He's playing the villain in this one. He's a guy who's stuck in the 80s, essentially. He has the mullet,
Yeah.
he has a stash.
He
comes
dances like Michael Jackson. He listens to
yeah,
Michael
he
Jackson.
dances to Bad. He has a whole dance number to Bad trying to break into a, I think, Navy facility or something like that. It was fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, it looks cool. I really like the first two movies. You got Kristen Wiig and Steve Carell back as Groot, and
They're always good.
Groot's female. Groot's wife,
Gru and
girlfriend,
Mrs.
whatever.
Gru. You have the
Oh,
Minions
Gru,
who
not
make a
Gru,
small
sorry.
appearance, which I hope is a regular thing for the movie. Did you see Minions last year?
I did.
That was Minions overload, I thought. Minions
Minions
are
was
cute
terrible.
in like 5-minute segments, or 5 minutes in the whole movie, but I don't want another Minions movie. And it doesn't look to be that way. I mean, we only saw one clip.
Yeah, we see the Minions a little bit, and they're still like his sidekicks. They help out, and they're funny again in small doses.
Yeah, and I think Trey Parker's character looks really funny. Just
Yeah.
the guy who has all this '80s gear. He's dancing to the '80s music. It's an exciting.
Looks like
it's an interesting concept for a villain.
Like a cool little action movie that's basically a comedy.
Yeah.
So.
Someone even likened it, I don't remember where I read it, but like kind of the Incredibles follow-up where you have all these crazy villains, kind of like the Underminer, things like that. And it's a fun movie. It's for kids, but I think adults enjoy it too. I
Definitely enjoyed the first two.
So with all that talk out of the way, what are we going to talk about tonight? We're going to give you a big review of a movie you're all excited to see, the Star Wars Holiday Special. Actually, we will be reviewing that movie, but we're first going to review Rogue One.
Rogue One. Rogue One. Rogue One.
And before we do that, we just want to mention that we're going to be giving away a digital copy of Star Wars The Force Awakens. So to win
the
that,
best Star Wars movie.
What do they have to do to win that one?
You gotta like this video. You gotta subscribe to Consider on YouTube. This Consider, not the other Considers. This one
our
in
channel.
particular. The one that you're looking at this from.
You
just
can
if there's
subscribe to the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, we're not stopping you from subscribing to
I would
the other
be
ones.
offended.
We just hope that you would also subscribe to us.
To ours, yeah.
And comment
Yeah, leave a comment.
on this video. So like, comment, subscribe.
Tell us what you thought. Tell us what your favorite Star Wars movie is. Tell us you want this. Do you want
comment
this?
first, and then subscribe, and then like.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Do it.
All you gotta
Any
do is
combination.
those three things and you'll win. Star Wars Force Awakens. He says the best movie. You'll hear my ranking later, but before that,
Rank.
we're going to be talking about Rogue One. So we
Everyone's
saw Rogue
ranking.
One last night at technically the midnight premiere, but that's not a thing anymore. We saw it around 10:20.
10:20.
Not that you need to know that. And yeah, we saw Rogue One, and what did you think?
It was awesome.
It was awesome. It was honestly
It was
awesome.
cool. It was just Star Wars.
You're-
We're gonna put all the Star Wars music in it. We're gonna have all these cool explosions and TIE fighters.
When you're thrown
and-
into that universe, it's hard not to have a good time. I mean, George Lucas accomplished making you not have a good time like 10, 15 years ago. But I mean, now it's in the hands of Gareth Edwards.
If you just overload everyone with cool Star Wars things, it's gonna be fun. And there's like the Force in there, and
You got Gareth Edwards, Disney, and Kathleen Kennedy all coming together again. Or Gareth Edwards new to the team, and you got a fun movie. This one takes place right before New Hope. So, and it ties in really nicely to New Hope. I'm not going to tell you how, but I had fun watching the movie. It wasn't a perfect movie. I think it's definitely a flawed movie.
yes,
But I had a lot of fun watching it. There's traditionally movies have 3 acts, and if you think of this movie's third act, which I mean, it starts roughly around a third of the way, or 2/3 of the way through the movie. The third act is awesome, I thought. The third act makes up for a lot of the flaws I had with the first 2/3 of the movie. It's pretty much a huge action spectacle, and you get to know a little bit more about this plan and what the whole movie. I guess we should give them the premise. If you remember the opening title crawl to New Hope, they mentioned that some rebels have stolen the plans to the Death Star, and that one line is what pretty much created this whole movie from the mind of Disney and Lucasfilm and whatnot. And so we have a movie of a ragtag group of people, rebels, or part of the Alliance, they call it this movie, and they have to go find the Death Star plans. How do they do it? You gotta watch the movie to find out. And I definitely recommend watching this movie.
I
Probably are.
I think this movie has a specific audience, and it's people who like Star Wars. If you don't know anything about Star Wars or like Star Wars, I think you're gonna have a hard time enjoying, or at the very least, understanding this movie.
Yeah,
you
the
can
whole
still enjoy
movie.
it with the whole presentation. Presentation's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. The visual effects are stunning, just like The Force Awakens. It looks really cool. All these explosions and fighting everywhere are great. The sound I thought was excellent.
Yeah, the action set pieces they gave us are really cool. This is this is the Star Wars movie with the most wars, I'd say. There's
Yes.
a lot of fighting, like you mentioned. The action scenes are awesome. The one at the end particularly, it's sometimes a little bit much, which is there's a problem of excess in some of these movies, but it never gets like overbearing too much. They give you some emotional moments in there. It's
Now,
really cool.
if you were expecting what we saw from the original trailers, which was a big, serious war movie with a Star Wars undertone, that's not what you got.
It's not
You got
entirely
a
true.
giant Star Wars movie with a war overtone.
Yeah, it's definitely, they try to there was reshoots, so you could tell they maybe, I don't know, I can't say for sure, but you can kind of guess that some of these reshoots added the comedic moments we see in the film. Some which hit, some
Yeah.
which don't.
Yeah, they try. I feel like every big blockbuster movie now, even if it's a serious movie or an action movie, needs to put comedy in there.
Yeah, they're trying to go for
just
that
to get as
lighter
much money as they
humor.
can. And I don't think it's necessary, but they're doing what's going to make them the most money.
I think with the backlash earlier this year with WB's films being a little too serious, maybe adding
That makes
a couple
sense.
reshoot scenes. I know there's a scene in this movie involving Darth Vader, and it's the most menacing you will ever see Darth Vader be. He's pure terror in this. And from what I hear, that scene was added through a reshoot. So reshoots can have good things. You're going to love... He's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler that he's in the movie. It's a bit of a glorified cameo, but it's the coolest Darth Vader scene we've ever seen.
Yeah, Darth Vader's awesome in this movie.
He kicks ass in this movie. Jyn Erso, which is our lead character, played by Felicity Jones.
I love Felicity Jones. I think she's a great actress.
She's a really good actress.
She's a very, like, girls next door, relatable type of actress.
And the problem is this is a more of a plot-driven movie than a character-driven movie, I'd say. I mean,
Yeah.
they try to make her the lead actress, but this
She
movie
doesn't
has
work.
an abundance of characters who are all cool, but you don't really get to know any of them too well.
There's two Asian buddies together that kind of work with the Force, and I won't say anything more about that, but I really like them.
I'm one with the Force is with me. We have Donnie Yen, I think is his name, and I forget the other guy's name, but they're really cool.
I really
great
like them.
They're a great duo. We also have Cassian Andor, played by Diego Luna.
He was pretty cool.
And K2 So, voiced by Alan Tudyk, who's the pirate, I think, in Dodgeball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're another
he
duo.
voices the robot.
Yeah, they're another duo. They're cool. K2 So is pretty cool. He's like this very blunt robot who's kind of panicky.
He wasn't
bit of
bad.
C-3PO.
He was most of the comedic relief in this movie.
Yeah, a lot of
and
the
he
people
worked.
was from him. And from what we understand, there's
but-
not going to be a sequel to Rogue One because technically the sequel is A New Hope. So there's no
Yeah.
chance of getting to know these characters better through the movies, at least, maybe through books or other lore. So that's one of my issues with the movie was you don't really get much of the characters.
Yeah, each of them is pretty good, but they don't spend enough time developing these characters or the relationships. They're all kind of there just to drive the plot.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't feel any satisfaction when these characters end the movie.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a favorite character, like from the list?
I did like Felicity Jones, Jyn Erso,
She was good.
but she didn't have a lot to do.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like how they used her. I liked her character. I did really like Riz Ahmed's character, Kobe, the pilot. Cool. He's one of my favorites. And again, the two Asian buddies were definitely my favorites of all.
Yeah, my favorite was, I can't remember his name, Donnie Yen's character. He plays he's not technically a Jedi, but he's kind of Force sensitive through his, like, spiritual teachings in the Force and his, like, inner reachings. And he was really cool. He had a few funny lines.
I really liked him.
He was awesome. He kicks a lot of butt. Bodhi, like you said, Riz Ahmed was cool. Forrest Whitaker, he's in this movie.
Was he your least favorite character?
I think Forrest Whitaker, unfortunately, again, you don't get too much of his character, which is like all the other characters, but his character was the most, to me, the least interesting, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't like his character. I didn't like how he played it or how he was directed to play it.
Although apparently his character, Saw Gerrera, was in the Clone Wars cartoon. A younger version of him. So there might be more to him that we don't know about, but someone who watches the series might care about. But he's like probably my least favorite. I did like Ben Mendelsohn plays the villain in this, Director Krennic. He was cool. He was like pretty menacing and like an evil guy. And a few characters make a return in CG form. I'm not going to say
it looks weird.
It's a little bit weird looking. The technology's not quite there yet, but it's progressed a lot since like movies like Tron Legacy.
It's almost like the fallacy.
The Uncanny Valley.
Oh, the Uncanny Valley.
You can tell it's not a real human,
Whereas
but they did a really good job.
If characters look almost human-like, where you try to like visually or computerize them and make them look like humans when they're not actually there, there's just something that looks really weird.
Essentially, our brain's really good at tuning out what isn't human. And it kind of shows in this, but they did a good job. It's a valiant effort.
They did a very good job because I didn't know that he wasn't there. Or that some of the characters weren't there. But
it's like you can kind of tell.
I knew something was off, but I didn't think that he wasn't there.
Something else this movie really takes advantage of is, unlike Force Awakens, which was building upon new things, so you couldn't really use much of the old, this movie takes on a lot of what A New Hope introduced us to and really gets that vibe, that old school Star Wars feel. You get a few characters who are in A New Hope, like smaller guys, like a couple characters from the Cantina we see in A New Hope.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Just see those characters again.
Yeah, again, this was a great use of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, Gareth Edwards.
I don't think it is a great movie from a movie standpoint. Like if this didn't have Star Wars and you just got the story and the characters and maybe a little bit of the action, I don't think it would be popular or good. But the fact is they use the Star Wars just license so well that I loved sitting and watching this movie.
Yeah, you can really tell Gareth Edwards took like advantage of that full Star Wars toolbox he has pre-New Hope.
You definitely want to watch it in the theater as well.
Oh yeah, see it in the theater.
No, just like sit down in smaller
I think
places.
IMAX if you can. I mean,
yeah, even
we saw it in a
didn't see it in
regular
IMAX.
size screen and it was fine, but I think IMAX would probably enhance the experience. So like the visual effects especially, Gareth Edwards does a really good job of. I mean, I think they use a lot of like real environments and real practical effects.
Yeah, the environments were really cool.
So the environments look great. All the characters look awesome.
A lot of like the war battles.
Set
It
design.
felt like you were there in a war, like in
Because that's
trenches.
a big part of going to see a Star Wars movie. It's the kind of character design you get, the kind of set design.
Yeah, the characters design was good.
We get some newer. At least I haven't seen them. The Death Troopers, the Stormtroopers in black. Those were really cool.
Yeah.
I like those. Did you have any favorite like new things in this universe that you saw? For me, it'd be the Death Troopers, of course. We also see the moon called Jeddah, which I'm assuming if you're from Jeddah, you're a Jedi. So that could tie into the mythology a little
That
bit.
makes sense.
So those little things I enjoyed. What about you? Even from the movie, did you have like favorite moments that? I mean, we can't spoil it, but
I liked a lot of the spoilers. There's ships flying around attacking each other. They're in every Star Wars movie.
all those like ship
a lot of those
dogfights,
were
right?
good. The ship dogfights were awesome, and even some of the big fights toward the end I really liked. Now, we already mentioned a lot of the ending is just because you don't get a chance to really feel for any of the characters, even any of the plot points for the most part, other than the fact that you know that they lead into Star Wars. It's just not really so satisfying at the end.
Yeah, it's not a hugely satisfying ending.
Like, I think they could have done a much better job at least trying to tie in the characters either together or with some sort of growth.
Right.
Or camaraderie or anything like that, and you just don't get that huge feeling. Or even if it does seem to do that at all, it doesn't feel organic.
Yeah, I think a lot of the characters, some do have an arc, but some don't have like a really well-developed character arc. And yeah, so the ending wasn't great for me. I do think, however, seeing this, if they re-release this, or even at home, you could watch this and A New Hope back to back. I think that would be like
that
a
would be
great
cool.
3-4 hour experience. That'd be
That'd
really
be
awesome.
really cool.
So that's what we liked, a little bit of what we didn't like. Is there anything major you didn't like in this movie that we didn't bring up?
That we didn't bring up. Again, just the plot. Just, you feel like that the entire goal of the movie is to get to the fact that they're getting the Death Star plans. And we're not going to say how or what happens or anything like that, but it just doesn't feel like the movie cares about existing in the now, just how to get there.
Yeah, I think
it doesn't stop and really enjoy
kind
any
of
of
along
it.
with what you're saying, the movie does tie in like some things to A New Hope. Some I really like, which I'm not going to bring
Yeah,
up. But
exactly.
Plot point with the father, but there are some that are just a little bit cute, and too easy. They didn't need to bring up. And I feel like the movie has a few pacing issues, especially like towards the beginning. There's a lot of planet hopping that goes on and like scene changes because they're trying to introduce all these characters so quick. I think that bogs me down.
Yeah, a lot of just the movie making things just it felt rushed.
Yeah, the beginning was like oddly
definitely.
paced, oddly edited. But the third act is like good enough for me to get over that. Now like I said earlier, I didn't love it. It's not a perfect movie, but it's fun to be.
It
back
made
in
me
the Star Wars
smile a
universe.
lot.
Yeah, it's really fun to be back in this universe. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it my score out of 100. I guess we'll do. I think I don't know if I can quite get it to an 80. In my heart I want to, but
yeah,
in my gut I don't want to. But just to be fair, I'm gonna go. I think 75 is my score for this one, which is fresh. That's not a bad score at all. It's great, especially within the Star Wars films.
I just remember how much fun I had. I'll give it an 80.
75, 80. That averages out to 77.5. And in a moment, we're going to compare it to the other Star Wars movies. But before we have another review coming for you, don't forget, if you guys follow, comment, subscribe, and like the video, you can win Force Awakens. And
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook.
all those fun things.
Twitter.
So we did our Rogue One review. Now we're going to do the one that's a bit more typical of the season. It goes along with our
It's the holiday season.
lovely sweaters. I've seen it before. Tim just saw it for the first time. We saw this week, technically the second Star Wars movie, the Star Wars Holiday Special.
So I guess we're gonna get right into it, or are we gonna do some little anecdote first?
Do you have one?
It was we got to meet Chewbacca's family, or should I say Lumpy's dad's family, and it's a loving family. in a nice house on Endor.
I don't even remember the planet. I think it was Kashyyyk or something.
Oh,
like that.
Kashyyyk, you're right. I'm sorry, I just offended a bunch of really big Star
Endor's the
Wars fans.
Wookiees. Come on, dude. I might have to kick you off
No,
the show.
Endor is the... God, I don't even remember what they're called.
I think it's
Ewoks. No,
Ewoks.
Wookiees is Chewbacca. Oh my
Anyway.
god, we can't even be on the air
That's
now.
how bad the movie was. We're all flustered and...
It was a load of crap.
Yeah,
it
it was
is
a really
the
bad
worst
movie.
movie I have ever seen in my entire life. It is not exaggerating. It's not even really a movie. It was garbage.
So the backstory is, in 1978,
Oh, God.
Star Wars was like or 77 even, Star Wars was one of the biggest phenomenons on the planet, and they're like, you know what, we deserve to make a holiday special on ABC. I think George Lucas was kind of like, I don't want to be involved, I don't really care.
So they didn't involve anyone with Star Wars except the actors.
The main cast, because they're probably contractually obligated to do this.
Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford are all in this piece of crap.
And to make matters worse, they have Carrie Fisher sing at the end.
Yeah,
She
Carrie
sings a
Fisher
white
sings.
song.
They premiered a Jefferson Starship music video in it, just in a Star Wars movie.
And like 85% of this thing is dialogue free. There's dialogue, we just don't speak.
There's 5 minutes of hologram acrobats that Chewbacca's family are watching for no reason.
Chewbacca's dad, I believe, or his wife's dad, starts watching adult videos at one point. I'm not
Adult virtual reality videos.
virtual reality adult videos
for
that
enjoyment.
happens. And yeah, the
and
majority.
we get to see his face while that happens.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant sight.
No,
the majority
no,
of the
no,
movie
no.
is spoken in Wookiee, or whatever. I guess Wookiee.
Yeah, they all just talk in Wookiee and there's no subtitles. You can't understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's insane. It's not a good movie. It's
I can't even wrap my brain around
sadly
this
though,
movie.
you know what's the saddest part? It's better than all the prequels. It's unfortunate. No, it's really not. It's like one of the worst. It's one of the worst pieces
It's
of
like
garbage
you
ever.
can't really compare it to a real movie.
Yeah, you have a Jefferson Starship music video. You have every original Star Wars cast member kind of like quarter-assing their performances in this.
There's like 500 words spoken in the movie and you can understand about 100 of them.
Yeah, it's like not good. Definitely watch it though. It's
It's on YouTube. It's in poor quality because the only version of it left is some dude who recorded it when it first came out because it was taken down from anything that you could possibly
Yeah, I think
see.
that's like the only good version we could find. I watch it once. It's a thing you should, if you like Star Wars
Oh
or you
my
want to have a good
God, is
time.
it
You can play a drinking game every time.
Oh, that's true.
Every time, not even something happens in the movie.
You're gonna
every
want to drink
time-
for this.
Every time you roll your eyes, maybe take a shot.
You want to kill these people.
Yeah, try not to die. Maybe take
Yeah.
a quarter shot, or every 4 eye rolls, take a shot. But that's what it is.
Yeah,
You-
maybe
Can
every
you give it a
100.
rating? Are you ready?
It's a 1. Like I can't rate lower than a 1.
1 out of
so it's a
100.
1.
Wow.
Well, I was saying 1 out of 10. I wouldn't
1 out of
ever
10.
go lower than a 1.0. Some scales don't let you do that. So if
So
we
a
did go
10
out of 100,
essentially?
then a 1.
yeah.
It would be a 1 out
It's
of
still
100.
one.
It's the worst thing
I
I've
think
ever seen.
it's enjoyable to a point, and
No, I didn't enjoy it.
I'm such an idiot that it has Star Wars stuff in it, and I'm like, ooh, it's Han Solo. So that's
But I think that's the only Star Wars thing it has. It has the actors, and that's it. They
I
don't
will-
even act like their own characters.
So one saving grace for this movie is there's a Boba Fett cartoon, very
I fell
poorly
asleep during the
animated,
Boba Fett cartoon.
and
I couldn't get through it.
I kind of enjoyed it. It's a nice, it's a different Boba Fett than we're used to, but it's a cool introduction to Boba. So for that, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna give the movie like a 15 or a 20, so probably like
100.
15 out of 100. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not the best thing in the world.
It's like, at least with Batman vs. Superman, I enjoyed talking about how bad it was. This one, I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this. I can't
interesting
do
movie
this.
to bring up.
Because
I thought we don't talk about that one anymore.
No, we can still talk about how bad it is.
I'd rather not talk about Suicide Squad, for being honest. But that's the Star Wars Holiday Special. So we've seen all the Star Wars movies. I have admittedly not seen one theatrical one that has come out. It's a Clone Wars animated thing.
Like direct-to-video.
No, it's actually in theaters, like, for, I don't know how long, but it was in theaters at one point, and it's based on the animated series, so I haven't seen that. But
Okay.
of the 7, I guess now 8 Star Wars movies, even if you're counting Holiday Special, 9, which it sure is on the bottom of both of our lists. What's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Force Awakens.
Yeah?
Yes.
Better than the originals, better than the prequels, better than Rogue One?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because it's awesome.
The stage
No,
zero.
everyone knows. It's awesome. That's it. That's all I gotta do.
Well, that's the thing. It's been getting a lot of criticism, since it came
Well,
out.
it's gotten more criticism after it came out. Because people started thinking like, hey, it's kind of a lot like A New Hope.
Yeah, it is a lot like A New Hope. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. Better than Rogue One, I'd say, still.
Yeah.
But it's a lot like New Hope. It's not a very... It does take some new twists and turns and give you some new characters, but a lot of the plot points are plot points that they've treaded over in A New Hope, and I was
And
really
you said
looking forward-
favorite. I'm not saying it's the best made Star Wars movie. I'm
Well,
saying
I mean,
it is my
either.
favorite
You
one.
can pick whichever.
I
suits
recognize that it has flaws, but they're overshadowed by how cool everything is. It looks gorgeous. All the set pieces are great. It's just, again, you always say it's nothing you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
But it's a combination of things that I haven't seen
I mean,
before.
there's no problem with
and
liking
all the
that
things
one the
are
best.
really cool. Music's awesome.
John Williams comes back. He has a few new tunes that I like.
Again,
the March of the
visuals.
Resistance.
Yeah.
Do you have a new favorite song or a new theme or whatever? Ray's? You like Ray's theme?
I
would
really
to see
like
where
Ray's
she
theme.
goes.
It's been stuck in my head the past 2 days.
So, do you have any like theories for episode 8, or are you
I-
not one to theorize?
I don't theorize
Is that
generally.
speculation from you?
I have hopes that they introduce some fatal flaw to Rey to make her character more interesting, because after seeing this movie about 3 times, I realized that all the characters are pretty one-dimensional.
They're too
And-
perfect. There was a lot of criticism
Well-
with her being like a Mary Sue kind of character.
Well, the thing is, she's too perfect. Poe doesn't really need to be
Poe's not
there,
much.
and he's just a good pilot, but so is Rey, so it doesn't matter as much. And John Boyega's character, Finn, is just kind of the dumb comedic relief almost, and he has no skills. So I'm hoping he gets a little more serious and develops some sort of skill. Rey takes some sort of fatal flaw, and not hopefully like her arm gets hurt or something, like actually
Well,
something
yeah, some sort of like
bad,
character
or
flaw.
maybe some sort of character
Maybe
flaw.
her
Exactly.
hubris comes into play, or I mean, she didn't.
Yeah,
seem-
that would be good.
Yeah, some kind of character failing. The nice thing about what you just mentioned is since these movies are a trilogy, you
You
get
can
the
build.
3 movies to build the character arcs. For me, my favorite has to be A New Hope. It's the one that started us all off. Nostalgia plays into it. And I just think we're familiar with. You see all these new characters, and you get their motivations and their characters. You get this new universe and these worlds that you go to, and this. You understand the dynamic between the Empire and the Rebellion. I mean, it's not very hard to understand. It's kind of like going back to like dictator governments and the people rising up. It's just a great story, I think. I mean, you don't get the whole rebellion going on in that one movie alone, but it kicks it off really cool. I think Darth Vader is a great design. The lightsabers, it just captures your imagination, like a lot of movies don't really do. I think Harry Potter most recently probably is the newest Star Wars we have for this generation, but
Yeah.
I'm still high on A New Hope.
Now I had seen A New Hope a few years ago. I thought it was very boring.
Interesting.
I didn't like it too much. Like, I thought it was kind of cool, whatever, and I saw it recently, and I still see why I thought and why a lot of people, at least people our age, younger people, think that A New Hope is boring, because there's a lot of talking. But seeing it again, especially in the first half, there's a lot of talking, but all of the lines mean something and help you introduce you to the nuances of this new universe.
It's a great world.
And a lot of them teach you about the story, because if you don't pay attention to every line, you might miss something very important to the story.
Yeah, things that are like
But-
iconic and well known now, but I mean, if you're seeing the movie for the first time, it's like you kind of pay attention. It's a great piece of world building, but it's interesting. A lot of people, like younger people, I noticed, like the newer ones.
Yeah.
Or the old ones. Even a couple of roommates I've had before, like the prequels better than the sequels. But I think
It's
that's
because
just
the
part of
prequels.
growing up with them.
Yeah.
More what it was. The special effects and all that. So before we move on to box office, do you have a ranking for Rogue One within the 7 or 8 movies?
So I guess we should start from the bottom and go up.
You don't have to rank them all, but just where does Rogue One fall in if you had a
Well,
list?
in order for me to fit where it falls in, I would kind of have to rank them all in my head.
You think?
So I would go, the holiday special, if we're counting it, obviously is the worst.
Okay.
I would say Attack of the Clones is the second worst. I don't see why people think that. Well, I kind of do a little bit because of all the hype, but I don't think Phantom Menace is nearly as bad as Attack of the Clones. So I would say Phantom Menace is the next one up. Then wherever we're at, like 6 or 5 right now. The Revenge of the Sith. Then probably. I want to say Empire, but I need to watch Empire again. Then Return of the Jedi. Then A New Hope would be. Oh wait, where would Rogue One be? I just totally goofed.
I'll let you think about that one. For me, it's definitely A New Hope first, like number 1 on my list. Then Empire Strikes Back. Then want to say Force Awakens I like more than Return of the Jedi, but I like Return of the Jedi more than Rogue One. So Rogue One would fall number 5 on my list. And then the other 4 are almost interchangeable as far as I'm concerned.
If I'm going for how much I enjoyed them,
Just your favorite, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm going for just a favorites list, I'd probably put Force Awakens at number 1, A New Hope, then Rogue One, then Return of the Jedi, and then Empire Strikes Back.
And then the bottom 4.
And then the bottom 4 that I mentioned.
So there's our Star Wars rankings. Again, if you guys comment below, tell us what your favorite Star Wars movies are, things like that. Are you excited to see Rogue One? Are you excited for the Star Wars anthology in general? Are you excited for all these solo movies? Or
Now I am.
audience is shaking their head no?
After seeing what Rogue One did with what could have been a very mediocre, or even a little less than that movie, and turned it into an awesome, kick-ass Star Wars movie,
Yeah.
I'm excited
to
for
see
what
these
they're
like side stories,
doing.
definitely.
Like Lord and Miller are handling the
I
Han
do
Solo
hope
movie.
they're not all like in between movies and they're a little bit more like fleshed out side stories. Because this one had the
I would be okay with in between movies, to be honest.
Because it's kind of tying you down to like having to really tie it into all these other movies.
But then it gets to tie into all these other movies.
It's preference, really. I like it. I like this one. I'll see what they do next. And
Yeah.
with that said, it's time for the last segment of our show.
Box office.
The most expensive segment, the box office. Expensive for people to make the money, not us.
Expensive for people going to see the movies as well.
Oh yeah, I guess it is expensive for us. This past weekend's box office saw Moana breaking the dough again. Moana came in at number 1. A Christmas movie, which was on, I think, the Rolling Stones top 10 worst movies of the year. Office Christmas Party pulled in a hot number 2 spot. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is actually still holding on pretty well.
Still making $10 million.
Number 3 spot, Arrival, thank the Lord, is
Wow.
doing number 4, still top 5.
And Doctor Strange keeping the 5 spot.
Doctor Strange keeping the 5 spot.
The solid $4.5 million.
$4.5 million.
I'm gonna say 5, but
I
it's
think
lower
it's
than that.
definitely Marvel's highest grossing solo introduction.
Solo
whatever.
intro movie
Yeah,
ever.
it's a very specific category, but they're doing.
There's like
Marvel's
4 of
doing
them.
good. I'm glad Arrival's still up there. I hope they might not hang on this weekend at the top 5, but it's really nice.
Yeah, I might. They're probably trying that.
But it's time to update that scoreboard. So last week we gave you guys our top 5 predictions. Tim guessed Moana correctly,
Yes.
Office Christmas Party correctly,
Yes.
and Fantastic Beasts correctly.
Yes.
So very good on you. So you got 3 points this week.
I did.
I only guessed Fantastic Beasts correctly, from what I could tell.
Yes.
So it's 1 point for me. So what does that put our new scores up to?
13 for Howard and 15. Taking the lead again.
Bullcrap, man. So I think in a few weeks we'll announce when we're going to end this current run of competitions, and the winner will pick something for the loser to do on the following show. So if you want me to wear your favorite jersey, you want me to wear a tutu, do the show in my birthday
When the
suit,
Giants make the Super Bowl, you better believe you're wearing an Eli Manning jersey.
well, we'll see what happens. Or I can make you do something if I catch up. And for me to catch up, I would have to make a great top 5 prediction this week. So why don't we kick that one off? Coming out, before we do that, coming out this week, we've talked about it in length, is Rogue One, which I think is the obvious number 1 spot. But it could be number 2 if Collateral Beauty takes a strong hit at it. That's Collateral Beauty is the newest Will Smith movie. It's getting bombarded with terrible reviews.
Helen Mirren, Edward Norton, Keira Knightley, Michael Pena, Naomi Harris, and Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet are on the stink pile. I think it's about a guy who's an ad executive and he talks to the manifestations of like love and death and
I thought it looked entertaining.
who cares? It looks schlocky and dumb. And opening a
I
little bit
thought
wider
it would
this
be
week
pretty
is a
good,
movie
but-
we've briefly talked about before a few times, Manchester by the Sea. It's going to be opening in more theaters, so definitely check it out. It's getting a lot of buzz. And that being said, it's time
That
to take our...
stars Casey Affleck
Yeah.
as a guy whose brother dies and he might have to take care
Ben
of
Affleck
the
died.
son. Yeah, Ben
Oh my
Affleck
God,
died.
that is a sad movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time to make our top 5 guesses, and to make it interesting, after you name your top 5, since it's pretty obvious Rogue One's going to be number 1,
Yes.
we're going to do box office numbers, and whoever's closest gets an extra point.
All right.
So opening weekend prediction. So obviously I'm going to go Rogue One number 1.
Mhm.
I think Moana will hold strong at number 2. Office Christmas Party is going to hold it at number 3 again. I think Arrival might actually make more than, I don't know. I'm going to say Fantastic Beasts number 4, and number 5, I think Arrival could hold it. So essentially last week's plus Rogue One number 1 spot. And my prediction for Rogue One's opening weekend, It did 30 million last night, so that's a little bit of a help. Originally, Force Awakens made 250 million domestic, which is insane. I don't think it'll do those kind of numbers, but I could see it doing close to Iron Man 3 kind of numbers. So even Dark Knight numbers, I'm gonna go 162 million.
Okay.
What about you?
I will go with Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, as Rotten Tomatoes calls it. I will say that goes number 1. I'm guessing 125 million. Just
Okay.
to guess.
Yeah, it's not a bad guess. I mean, that's
Yeah, I think it's movies this year haven't been so hot in the box office. The highest in the last few years, or the last few months, has been about 80 million, and that was, I believe, Doctor Strange.
Okay.
So I'm going to say 125 million. It is Star Wars. It is holiday time, but I don't think, first of all, it doesn't have Star Wars in the name, according to theaters. It's just Rogue One.
But people know. People know.
People
they're getting
know,
it.
but I think that hurts in the general audience. So, but it's still a lot of money. I'll say 125. Number 2 is Moana. Number 3, Office Christmas Party. Number 4, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Number 5, Collateral Beauty.
Oh, you think Collateral Beauty would break the
It's
top
Will
spot?
Smith, and it has a great cast.
It's Will Smith.
But the rest of the
Or-
movies are.
I would be shocked. I wouldn't honestly be shocked.
Actually, I'm gonna move that to number 4. Make it interesting.
Yeah?
And Fantastic Beasts at number 5.
Five? Wow, you think it's gonna make that much money?
Fantastic Beasts only made 10 million this week.
I see a flop.
So Fantastic Beasts makes about 7 million. You think a movie with that many stars can't make 5 million in its opening week?
Yeah, I would be shocked.
You wouldn't be shocked if it didn't
I
make
genuinely
anything.
wouldn't be shocked.
I think it looks good. I know a lot of people who do think it looks good.
Well,
It has terrible reviews. I know. It has a great cast.
we'll see what happens. next week.
Again, with that cast, if it was a good movie, I'd put it.
If there's any Thursday numbers, there might not be. I'm not finding anything. So that's going to be the end of our show. Next week, it's really going to come down to Collateral Beauty and those numbers, right? And your number 5 spot of Fantastic.
Next week will be the real Christmas show on
We'll be talking
Wednesday.
about our favorite Christmas movies, some holiday traditions, and a really good time. So just remember, you guys can like all the things in the comments. We have our social media and whatnot. And to enter, just leave a comment, subscribe, and like. I'm Howie,
I'm Tim.
and we're signing off. Have a good night.
Consider